This is a severe weather alert from WWL Louisiana, sponsored by Egan Insurance Agency.
Hi, meteorologist Alexandra Cranford. Really quickly getting you an update on what's happening with our weather. We do have a big flash flood warning across a big chunk of the New Orleans metro area with some heavy rain. About 2 to 3 or so inches of rain have fallen, and you can see that there is still heavy rain ongoing for a big part of New Orleans and much of the West Bank, from Marrero to Gretna, Tarrytown, Algiers, and into New Orleans East and parts of St. Bernard Parish as well. Our rainfall rates are about 2 inches per hour. So just a heads up, of course, don't drive over any flooded roads. If you do have to get out and about, use extreme caution. Other than that, there really is only spotty, isolated kind of downpours, and the main thing happening is just happening to be right over that part of our viewing area. So just a heads up, flash flood warning until about 6:15. We'll get you back to regular programming now, but we are going to continue with more weather information. If you'd like a more detailed report on WWL Plus, we'll be streaming there shortly. So join us on that. It's a free app for your TV, and take care. We'll get you back to your show.
This has been a severe weather alert from WWL Louisiana, sponsored by Egan Insurance Agency.
All right, I'm meteorologist Alexandra Cranford at WWL Louisiana. We're talking about our weather on this Saturday afternoon in New Orleans. We have a flash flood warning for a big part of our area across New Orleans, into the Tarrytown, Algiers, Marrero kind of areas, and into St. Bernard Parish, about toward Chalmette. So this is a flash flood warning until 6:15. We'll get you a little more information here with our live radar scene, just showing a lot of rain, heavy rain across the entire almost West Bank from Marrero all the way to Algiers. And we are looking for that right on the fringes of New Orleans, right along the river, interestingly, all the way from uptown into the CBD, the French Quarter, and into St. Bernard Parish, crossing many of these spots around the lower 9th Ward, the French Quarter itself, Marigny, Bywater, all of these locations. And our precipitation rate has been about 2 inches per hour. And the thing is, as you can see, it really isn't moving much. So just a big heads up, if you do have to move around, get out and about on your Saturday afternoon. There is heavy rain over our New Orleans metro area, and this could easily lead to some flash flooding of streets in this particular location especially. So some spots I've seen around the West Bank, around Tarrytown and Algiers, I saw one gauge with about 3 inches of rain or a little bit more. Other spots have gotten about 1 inch or so, but just getting out there and rain this heavy, it can be pretty quick to fill up with water for those streets that you know about that tend to flood, especially those low-lying spots. So you might want to avoid some of those, especially kind of the underpass spots where you know the water does tend to fill up. As we are looking at the rest of our radar site now, you can see that this is really the only spot of interest across our entire southeast Louisiana and coastal Mississippi locations. So just a little bit of a thunderstorm here north of Picayune, a little near Lake Bourne, some out toward Gramercy, although we have had some spotty and scattered rain across a big part of the western part of our New Orleans metro area earlier in the day. Now it's more the eastern fringes and south of the city and south of the West Bank, almost to Jean Lafitte. So not that much rain out there, but where it is coming down, it's on the heavier side. You can see a little bit of thunder and lightning, of course, with that thunderstorm. We can hear it big time in the studio in the French Quarter right now, as it's a small but rather strong storm, and it is bringing the main thing, the heavy rain. So that flash flood warning will go until 6:15, and that is for that bright green shaded area around New Orleans. We are expecting the rain to finish up at some point, but we just haven't seen it happen just yet. So as we look at our radar scene here and check out our warned area, this was a street flood advisory, and then the National Weather Service just upped it to the flash flood warning. So until 6:15, we'll be dealing with this unless it stops pretty quickly. But you can see that heavier rain really setting up all the way south to Estelle now, and it's really not moving much at all. Lots of lightning. In fact, if we use our lightning tracker here, let's see how much lightning there has been. Just 1 second. Let me get it set up here and draw our box around this small thunderstorm. You can see the strikes about 50, and it's a pretty small storm, relatively speaking, especially compared to the rest of the viewing area. So setting up right along our uptown spots into the river kind of bend, actually the entire kind of curve of the river here over toward Bywater, Marigny, and into St. Bernard. And now we're actually seeing it build a bit farther south into Tarrytown from Algiers, Marrero, Gretna, if you're around these spots, and again toward Algiers and parts of the West Bank, almost south toward Estelle. So this is where the heaviest rain has been. Sometimes even as we speak with these warnings, you can kind of see the trend happening even just within a couple of minutes with these thunderstorms, because they build up and they quickly rain themselves out because of the structure of the storm. There's only so much rain that can come down, even though it is heavy. Usually we have these setups where the rain rains itself out, we say, or the storm rains itself out because it just can't tap into all the moisture in the entire southeast Louisiana area. It just kind of has its column of air. However, sometimes you can get these situations where it starts to spread out and then it has more moisture to work with. So we are looking at the heavy rain. I think now you can see as far south as almost into, not quite Belle Chase, but pretty close. If you're in Belle Chase, you might be seeing those dark clouds and hearing the thunder and the lightning a little bit farther off in the distance. But we'll see if this continues to build south toward Belle Chase and also spread out a little bit into New Orleans east and some spots along the St. Bernard kind of area along the river from Chalmette and farther to the east. Some locations in the city, like if you're in Lakeview, if you're in City Park, if you're in Metairie and Kenner, you might not be getting any rain at all right now, but where it is happening, it has been pretty heavy. So we might add on another couple of inches of rain to what we've already gotten. And as I said, in the Algiers case, there was one gauge with 3+ inches. So this could end up maybe, 4+ inches of rain, at least in some locations. That is plenty to cause street flooding in our low-lying spots in particular. Now, hopefully this will let up at some point, but again, we've been talking and the radar scans have not really shown a whole lot of improvement, even just since we've talked in the past couple of minutes, or when I started talking about our flash flood warning in the past few minutes. So some locations off to the north, a little bit lighter. Other locations like Tarrytown and over toward Estelle, it has gotten heavier. So we will just have to watch for those street flooding issues. Our precipitation rates have been up to about 2 inches or so per hour. In fact, let me sample a couple of spots here. For example, right around the French Quarter, it is pretty heavy, and precipitation rate at about 1 inch per hour, about 1.5 inches farther south. And look at this, not far from Estelle, in roughly the Marrero, Gretna, Harvey area, almost 3-inch per hour rainfall rates there. So you can see why that flash flood warning was put out by the National Weather Service. The green shaded area is where you want to watch for any of those street flooding problems that you might know of. Certainly there are streets that I bet you know of, from Araby to Chalmette. Bywater is included, Marigny, the French Quarter, huge chunk of Uptown and the Lower Garden District and places like that, and into Gretna and Tarrytown, including almost all of Algiers at this point because of that heavy rain. And yep, again, not seeing a whole lot of movement. If anything, some of the heaviest rain you can see is just kind of shifting maybe slightly southward, but I'm also seeing this particular spot that's just been sitting over that big bend near Bywater, just still right there and not moving a whole lot. In fact, maybe even spreading a little bit farther to the north. So just wanted to let you know what we're seeing. These thunderstorms, again, should be wrapping up. We're not particularly at a heightened risk of flooding today for our area. From the Weather Prediction Center, not specially outlined for severe weather either, but as we know, our summer thunderstorms can sometimes overachieve, I guess you could say, and just bring a whole lot of rain at once, maybe a couple inches or more. It looks like it'll be more in this case in some locations. And then also they can bring some gusty winds and things like that occasionally, although it doesn't look like that kind of setup with this cell. Let me show you really quickly what else we have going on across our area, and then we'll get you back to whatever you were doing before. Just hope you stay safe on your Saturday afternoon. It's kind of interesting to see almost no other spots with this particular kind of heavy rain, and not that much coverage on radar at all. Just these small isolated downpours, one near Picayune, one in Washington Parish, couple of smaller and not quite as intense storms south of Gonzales, and also around Homa, a little bit of spotty rain, but not as strong as what we're seeing in the city. So we'll give you one more view of this big blob of that heavy rain that, even as I've been talking almost 10 minutes now, it hasn't really changed very much. If anything, it's kind of spread out a bit. But we are expecting this probably to rain itself out at some point. But just in the meantime, we will continue with that flash flood warning. And I think even outside of the particular area that's outlined, you could see some flash flooding, for example, a little south of Terrytown, in some parts of our area there toward Manhattan Boulevard and parts of Lapalco and over into New Orleans East, starting to see some rain as well. If you're looking at I-10, by the way, trying to get out and about between Slidell and New Orleans, it does look like there will be rain for a pretty big chunk of your drive, but it does lighten a lot as you get farther east in New Orleans East, or if you're coming from Slidell, it gets a lot heavier once you get into the city itself. So just wanted to update you on that. We will let you go now. We'll have more updates on WWL at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. As long as our sports allows us for that 5 o'clock show, we'll have more updates at WWLTV.com and more here on WWL Plus streaming.